Hello SGD. In my recommendations I got one of these shorts, Audacious, the mind-numbing Kailasa Temple of India by the Lost History channel. I'll put the link in the description, but you're going to hear the same thing, that the temple is this amazing, well, it is an amazing temple, but that it could not have been achieved, and you'll also say that the temple could not even be destroyed when the Muslims arrived, and that's well into the time of steel tools. So the question is, well, if they couldn't work granite, then how was other granite work done? But even with 1,000 men and 3 years, this couldn't be destroyed. It's a common theme you'll hear with lost ancient high technologists, that basalt and granite are these indestructible, even with modern tools we can't do this and that type of stuff. It's just one of the, it condemns them because after all the years that they have an apparent interest in history, you see that they do not have any interest in truth at all, because they would have at least taken a little bit of time to look at examples of people working with granite, get some granite, do a little bit of experimentation with it. But spoiler alert, indestructible granite, it's actually the worst building material to work with and amongst the easiest to destroy. Here's a picture of the temple itself. It was carved as one piece down from, well, the bedrock itself. That's an amazing feat, but it's also a bit of a cheat because you don't have to bring the stones in from a distance. So this is like, how did they bring the stones in from so far away? This is amazing. And then when, well, they didn't bring the stones in, they didn't even need to fit the stones. They just needed to carve the stones as if it was a multi-block piece, like other temples, they have to carve those and fit the blocks together. In this case, they didn't have to move the blocks, and they didn't have to fit the blocks together, and they didn't have to join the carvings between the blocks. So this method, which would have some other difficulties with it, but nothing that couldn't be overcome with simple surveying tools, but they also, well, cheated in the way that they didn't have to do what other beautiful temples and even modern temples such as Iravan in Hawaii had to do, is do these carvings, move the blocks, fit the blocks, and get all the carving work between the different blocks put together. But that's the temple itself. In regards to the indestructibility of, like, this stone can't, it must be advanced machining to you know, 1,000 Muslims with chisels in 3 years couldn't even destroy it. This is a nonsense. Now, firefighters, insurance companies, engineers, and again, this is not some esoteric topic, you know, that's hard to find and you need billionaire Illuminati access to get to it. It can be found very easily. So granite as a building material, and granite is one of the worst building materials to use because it is destroyed by fire so easily. So the key phrase here, I've just highlighted, made a little bit bigger. Of all building stones, and aside from wood, of all building materials, granite is the most susceptible of injury by fire. If a low temperature fire, not some furnace, just a campfire temperature, contacts with granite, it ruins the granite. This is well known. Insurance companies, builders, engineers especially know this. Fire setting is an ancient technique to rapidly remove granite. Don't worry about 3 years, don't worry about 3 months. We're talking 3 hours, 3 days, maybe 3 weeks. The amount of damage you can do to granite with fire is, you just tear through it, tear it apart. Here's another side in regards to granite as a building material. So stone suffers under the effects of fire and is prone to disintegration when suddenly cooled. Based on a specific type of stone, the exothermic reactions can vary greatly. For example, granite explodes when exposed to heat and therefore requires extensive risk management when used as a construction material. While excessive heat often causes limestone to crumble, sandstone's unique composition, formed of small mineral particles and rock fragments, means it can usually withstand moderate fire conditions and is less likely to crack and break apart like other stone materials. So sandstone's easier to work with tools, but it's better to survive fire, and well, to destroy granite especially is really, really easy. Low temperature wood fire will do it. Let's look at some examples.
On that side of the rock, and the whole rock just cracked right down the center. The whole thing, right in half. So again, I levered the rock apart, And I just decided to take whatever wood I had left and sort of pile it in the center. Alright, it's about 3 hours in, and as you can see, that big half cracked in half again. So you can see it right there, just cracked right through the center. Dry as a bone. Alright, so what we can see here is that when the fire split, or the rock split in two, I focused on one half of the rock, which was this half, and you could see that that half pretty much disintegrated. That's 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops with a sledgehammer, just hitting it. And what I found is that instead of feeling solid, the rock started, as I was hitting it, it felt brittle, and it was literally just cracking in big chunks. Whereas before I would hit it and I would get that, you know, that solid ping sound off the hammer, this was just crack, and it was just falling apart in pieces.
Okay, so we had a massive rock here that we couldn't remove. We hired a jackhammer, a 27 kilogram jackhammer. Nothing seemed to work. We wasted 2-3 days on the jackhammer. We broke I don't know how many drill bits of the jackhammer. Then we heard about fire setting to crack rock using heat and water. So here we've just made a giant fire around the rock. We opened up the space around the rock and made a giant fire just with leftover wood of trees that we had killed on the site. And the fire's been going for about an hour, just over an hour, and just with the heat alone the rock seems to snap off naturally. So a massive rock that we couldn't clear with a sledgehammer now gets cleared easily. It's cracking, so let me get in there and make some. Just hold the chair and film when I get in there.
Get the hammer. It's hot. With the hammer.
So that's how you break a massive rock using fire. Good luck.
Right, so fire setting would absolutely destroy this place in no time at all. But here's a panel that was built. So 1,000 men, the Muslims, with steel chisels, because this was in the Iron Age, couldn't do significant damage even after 3 years. Give me a stone pounder and before lunchtime I would utterly destroy this panel. That fine work especially would just disintegrate without fire setting, just with a stone panel. With a chisel, this would be gone in no time at all. This is one of the ridiculous to strengthen this lost ancient high technology, must be machines, can't be done. It is built on such outrageous silliness that it's beyond description. It really, really is. It is utterly silly. They have no interest in the topic that they look into, or they're being deliberately deceptive, and that even once they're corrected they keep going. That gives the game away. They're being deceptive. It's a con. So back to the Granite Temple itself, we saw those examples of fire setting. I've done smaller examples. We saw people using larger ones. This is a well-known technique. Using fire setting and a small team, this place would be reduced to rubble and dust in no time at all. Sorry, we've got a typo there. Rubble and dust in no time at all. It's beyond dispute. And again, it's just curious that those who are so interested in these stones and talk so much about them have zero knowledge about them or zero interest in finding out about them to protect their business model. Then in regards to the claim that 1,000 men using chisels, standard steel tools such as chisels and wedges, because a chisel is essentially a wedge, that even after 3 years they couldn't do significant damage. And this is just outrageous in how wrong it is. It's not even wrong. It's beyond wrong. This would be gone in way less than 3 years. Now let's look at an example of an old guy with chisels and wedges and what he can do to a big block of granite in no time at all.
bom, chega.
Tá.
Chega.
Já para dar mais aqui em cima.
É igual, vá.
Mas aqui também dá.
Sim, vá. Vá, primeiro, faz lá.
Era. Toda essa moça. Ora bem. Agora vai já embora. Pronto. Está feita. Cortou mal como o caralho. Não, mas cortar mal estraga meio pedra como o caralho. Está feita.
I admit it's very seductive, this ancient lost high technology. It's almost like it's a new age religion in a sense, because it fulfills all of that mystery and the ancient and the high and the Nephilim, and it does, it has the old religions fade. We've probably without realising, most of us are finding this, looking for a replacement to religion. But if you want to find a goddess, look up, is that true? Is that true? She's the ancient goddess of basic knowledge in the subject you at least pretend to care about. This is the goddess that none of the lost ancient high technologists want to look at or devote any prayer to. Their goddess is making stuff up. That she's the Sino-Bulgarian goddess of fake news and clickbait. And that's what this lost ancient high technology is. Even when they know, they make a claim and then they make a challenge, the challenge is met, then they will ignore that and move on to another one, then sort of up the ante, shift the goalposts, just again to protect this business model. It is a con, it is a scam, it is a fraud, it is a lie. And that can be seen by the fact that these apparent truth seekers continue to promote things they know to be false. And so you can't lift this, you can't cut that, you can't drill that, you can't do that. proven by multiple independent experimentation. They never do an experiment. Everyone else has to do their labour for them. So it's also this entitlement and laziness to not show any interest in the topic that they care for. But so it's immoral in that it's a con, but it's also more dangerous, and the deeper immorality is that they're promoting this to young people for clickbait and for making money. They're stealing young people's abilities from them. And this is a high crime, this in my opinion. There's a, you know, as an adult, you have a responsibility to the generations and the youth that come after them. And anyone who just tells a child that they cannot do something, especially when they can do that and it's part of their birthright because their ancestors did it, this is immorality on a level that I can't express. And it is vile. I hold them in utter contempt because of this, and a pox on your house for those who do this and continue to spread definitive factual falsehoods. If you want to argue finer points of history, because it's whether modern or ancient history, there are interpretations and missing gaps in documentations, yes, so you can argue those. But when you say things like granite can't be cut, you can't do this, is impossible to destroy a temple. Now, God, do not destroy a temple, please. But again, this is immorality. So they should be looking to, is that true? And they should stop worshipping this demon goddess that they do, making stuff up. And that's what they do. They make stuff up. They know it's false. They know it's true. And again, a pox on your house for doing this.